Hello. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Movi M5. I bought my Movi about 4 months ago in May, and I think it's the best piece of filming equipment I've bought this year. Before that, I was using a Flycam 5000, which is a bit like a glide cam but a little bit cheaper. And I kept having problems with it. When I took the time and I spent quite a while setting it up, making sure it was completely properly balanced, it would work okay for a little while, but then things would move around and suddenly it would no longer be properly balanced. And this was a big problem because whilst it would smooth out the vibrations when I was moving forwards and backwards or side to side, it was really hard to keep the camera pointed at a subject, and it would list from side to side, it would roll around, which made the footage completely unusable, really. I'm aware that this isn't indicative of all glide cams and steady cams. I'm sure that part of it being a cheap glide cam knockoff did cause the rolling, but even then I have seen people who look like they have the glide cam mostly under control. I've seen that roll around a bit as well. So for the next camera stabilizing system, I wanted to go for a gimbal, and in the end I went for the Movi M5. I'm finding it so much easier to operate. Even if you don't have a particularly high level of skill with gimbals, if you put a camera on, point at a subject, run pretty quickly with it, you're gonna get something that's decent. It does still take a little while to master. There is a bit of a learning curve, especially if you're going to be using majestic mode, which is when if you turn the handles, then the actual gimbal section smooths out the movement and slowly brings the camera around to catch up where your hands are. This is the mode that you should use if you're a single operator. I've seen lots of people say on the internet that gimbals have a digital look. Maybe some gimbals have a digital look. Certainly the Movi, being a Freefly gimbal, does take away a lot of that digital look, but you can still get a little bit of it if you don't use the gimbal properly, because if you're moving the camera around in a completely unnatural way, then it will look unnatural, and that's not really a problem you have with a glide cam. So it does take a little while to master how you should move the Movi around, where you should hold it, and how you should walk forwards and move side to side with it. I have a Canon C100 Mark II, which isn't officially supported by the M5. It's a little bit more difficult to use on the M5 than those supported cameras are, but I have made a video showing you how you can get the Movi M5 and the C100 Mark II to work well together. The big problem is the viewfinder at the back of the C100 can hit the top and the back of the gimbal. But it hasn't really been an issue, it's very rarely happened. As long as you don't really quickly tilt the Movi up or down, you should be fine. Thinking of all the shoots I've taken the Movi on, I can't remember many instances where the viewfinder ruined shots. One of the reasons I bought the Movi was because of the reliability. I've only ever had one problem with turning it on, where it shook a little bit and it wasn't quite working. Turned it off, turned it back on again, ran the calibration, and it was fine. That's the only time I've ever had something, and it might have been something that I did. You do have to have the Movi on a stand when you turn it on though, otherwise it can't, balance itself properly and the lights just flash and it won't turn on, so you do need to carry the Movi stand with you all the time. But running the auto calibration on the Movi is very easy to do. You can connect your phone to the gimbal and then just press auto configure. It moves around by itself for a couple of minutes and then you're good to go. I do this every few shots. If you have an Android phone, or I think any computer, then you can connect via the Bluetooth very easily. If you have an Apple mobile device, then you will need to get the separate Apple Movi chip thingy. I think it works via Wi-Fi instead of via Bluetooth, so you do also get a longer range. I did have some concerns about moving to a gimbal. Firstly, that it would be really hard to back up and I need some massive case to transport it anywhere. But with some tactical packaging, I have managed to get the Movi inside a Pelican case. The case I've got my Movi in is a Pelistorm IM 2700. The other thing that worried me was you can't put the Movi M5 directly down on the ground. You have to have the stand with you if you want to stop carrying the Movi. It is a little bit annoying always having to carry the Movi in one hand and the stand in the other when you're walking about an event, say, getting lots of different shots. But after a while, you get used to it. Just be careful the stand doesn't get in your shot, because that has happened to me a few times. With a little bit of practice, the Movi M5 can be set up in under 5 minutes, which is definitely acceptable, and it doesn't take that much longer to set up than a glide cam, because I think glide cam is harder to balance. Battery life isn't a problem. I've never used more than 2 batteries on a shoot. I didn't know this though when I bought the Movi, so I actually have 6 batteries, which is a little bit overkill. They are lithium polymer batteries and they don't have any sort of smart connections like a camera battery does. You basically have to plug it into a RC hobby battery charger. It's one of those batteries where if you plug things in the wrong order, you could start a massive fire. Which isn't ideal for a bit of camera equipment, but as long as you're careful, you should be safe from blowing anything up, which is always good. A lot of the Movi is made out of carbon fiber, so the actual gimbal isn't too heavy. Once you've put a camera and a monitor on though, it does start getting quite weighty, and you can feel it after you've been holding it up in front of you for a couple of minutes. I think it's easier and lighter than a glide cam because all of the weight has to go through one arm unless you get an entire vest set up. But either way, if you want to use a Movi without an easy rig, you should probably go to the gym a bit and lift stuff. Finally, the most important part of the Movi M5 review, the footage. The camera looks like it is effortlessly gliding through the air. I imagine a lot of that is thanks to Freefly stabilization technology. I never got shots like this with the Flycam. The amount of production value the Movi has added to my work is insane. With the Movi you can get all sorts of different shots when you're following someone, it's great for B-roll, and you can make your establishing shots more interesting too. The gimbal removes so much of the shakiness from your footage, and it can do it at a decent speed too. If there's any doubt about that, then have a look at this. I filmed this whilst leaning out the back of a convertible which was going up a hill. There were no camera car rigs, just me trying not to drop my £5,000 camera setup out of the back of a moving car. I was really happy with the footage I got from that film shoot. When I was playing it back on the Atomos monitor, I looked at it and thought, yeah, buying the Movi was worth it. Some gimbal shots seem to suffer from wide-angle lenses at f5.6 or f11, but with the C100 Mark II and dual pixel autofocus, you can get really cinematic, shallow depth of field shots even if you're just on your own. Even though majestic mode does take a bit of getting used to, as soon as I pulled the Movi out of the box, I could see the results and I was getting smooth footage the first time I ever used it. looking for a way to take your productions to a whole nother level, then I recommend looking at a Movi. I hope you found this review useful. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing so as not to miss any new videos. See you later.